Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, my dear Prabhus, dear Matajis. Good morning. Thank you for joining our morning japa session. It is very wonderful to always chant together with the association of devotees. Because if we're doing it alone, our mind always tricks us. Hare Krishna. And you know the drill. We should always be in the right mood, in the mood of request, in the mood of humility, and entering the realm of studying the deepest scriptures in the yoga philosophy, the Srimad Bhagavatam. So join me as we recite the invocation mantras. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashta Parayeshu Avadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Utamas Loke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistiki. I offer my obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayan, and to Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established an irrevocable pact. Hare Krishna, I just want to say my regards and Hare Krishna to Rodal Prabhu. Hello, Hare Krishna. Noreen, Mataji, Chandrika Radha Mataji, my god sister. Levi Prabhu, Rolly Prabhu, McCoy Prabhu, Oliver Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Paolo Prabhu, Chantal Mataji, Riza Mataji, Way Mataji, and I think this is Naimi, and those who are watching us here in Facebook Live. Hare Krishna to everyone. And previously we discussed about Maharaj Parikshit's birth, death, and dealings with Kali. And actually, we had a session yesterday on the highest perfection of life. Because Kali embraces that, even though he could always, Maharaj Pariksit embraces that, the curse and the death. Even he could actually counter curse, the curse of the Brahmana boy. Because a great personality could embrace that gloriously. Why? Because he knows that he spent his life 100% to the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He did not waste any. Those who are really afraid of that are too much attached to their success, too much attached to the things that they have done, too much attached to the relationship that they have not yet relished. Because Maharaj Pariksit did everything on his best. He's living in that moment where he knows what he's doing, guided by the um, right advisors, saintly advisors, and he worships Krishna all his life. So if you have regrets, and if you don't feel that you live your life to the fullest, maybe one just live their lives just every day is passing by because their consciousness is just everywhere. One could really not leave this earth because one is afraid and one thinks that he have a lot of things, a lot of unfinished business, and he he is thinking that um, he doesn't want to leave the earth, this life, because he thinks he wants to do much more things, or he can do much more with the relationship with others in their family and all. But when the time comes, when death comes, he cannot really bargain. If Krishna wants to protect you, no one could kill you. But if Krishna wants you to be killed, no one could protect you. So yes, having a consciousness where one could embrace that if time comes and knows how to do it and have the right consciousness is the highest perfection of life. And the best way to die is Krishna conscious death. Always thinks of Krishna and never forget him. And if one thinks of Krishna at the time of death, he will go to the abode of Krishna. And if one is attached here in this material world, one could not go to Krishna because you don't want to live here. So we will continue to read our Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are actually going back to the conversation in the sages in Naimisaranya. You should remember they are doing 1,000 years of fire sacrifice, the yagna. Continued reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. By the way, we received already the 18th volume of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the different version, the bigger one. I prefer the bigger one, specifically if you're reading at home. The good quality of the product, the pages, the illustration, so nice. Of course, these smaller ones, it's good for traveling. But what I do, I have the big books at my back. Nandun. Saka dyan. Hindi nyo kita. Yan. I have my big books, and when I travel, I bring my Kindle. If you need a copy, just let me know. And also, the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Couple of announcements, by the way, before we start. If you are interested, Tuesday evening, we will have recitation of the Bhagavad Gita verses in Sanskrit and in English. And Guru Maharaj will join us in the evening. Then Thursday, we will have another course by Sridham Prabhu. And we will have also another kirtan session. So that will be with Guru Maharaj Tuesday every week, Tuesday evening. So that is the part 2 of the meditation and yoga philosophy, of course. But if you want to join, let me know. Continued reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, creation, chapter 18, entitled Pariksit Cursed by a Brahmana Boy. We are reading from, starting at text 11. The good sages said, O grave Suta Goswami, may you live many years and have eternal fame, for you are speaking very nicely about the activities of Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. This is just like nectar for mortal beings like us. So actually, these sages from Naimisaranya, they're by the thousands, and they're doing 1,000 year sacrifices there. They're actually suffering. it's not it's not, how they call it, very comfortable. They face the fire 24 hours a day, not just for a few days, but for 1,000 year. The first year of Kali Yuga, they're doing this for the sake of the people. And Sutta Goswami came there because he wanted to share the Srimad Bhagavatam, what he heard from his spiritual master, Sukha Goswami. And if you notice here, they are giving benediction, they're giving blessing, they're giving well wishes to their teacher, Sutta Goswami, for him to live many years. Actually, we could pray to our for our teachers, especially the spiritual master. We could pray to Krishna for Krishna to give the spiritual master a longer life, a healthy life, not for sense gratification. We are in the material world. That's how we pray. I wish you longer life, prosperous life, healthy life. And the time comes when one is sick, get well soon. Because, of course, what is the reason? For one to be able to just enjoy their senses in their life here. A devotee is not afraid of that, but specifically for the spiritual master, the pure devotees, we are praying for their longevity of life, their health, because they're doing the most important service. They are speaking about the activities of Lord Krishna. They're speaking about this yoga philosophy, there's meditation, and it is actually waking up the people. Like it was mentioned here, the nectar for the mortal beings like us. Because of their help, because of their association, we are getting the benefit. So that's why we always bargain to Krishna to give them much more longer life. Actually, those who are pure devotees, they exceed beyond, of course. They're not under the energy of the material world. They're not energy of material nature already, because everything is spiritualized. Even their life is being handled directly by Krishna. So sometimes, and most of the time, if they are, the time has come for them to pass away, sometimes Krishna extends their life. You could see such great personalities. Even His Holiness Jayapatak Swami Maharaj, if you know him, he mentioned actually his time already has come, but Krishna is just extending and extending, because he has a lot of disciples, he has a lot of services by large scale and all. But very strong, have passed a lot of obstacles. So that's how we could pray always to our teachers, for Krishna to give them much more energy, time, health, and may live many years so they could continue serving. And it is just for our benefit. It is for the benefit of the people. So we must know that Krishna is and the pure devotees are born and acting not normal in comparison to the normal people. Their activities are different. We should not see it as we should not see them as ordinary people. Text number 12. We have just begun the performance of this fruitive activity, a sacrificial fire, without certainty of its result due to many imperfections in our action. Our bodies have become black from the smoke, but we were factually pleased by the nectar of the lotus feet of the personality of God, Govinda, which you are distributing. So they're performing that fire sacrifice. They have just started. For sure, it was just few years, but their bodies are already black. You know, when you face um, a fire, the smoke comes, and when the smoke touches anything around it, it turns black. And because they're doing the sacrifice, they're offering grain, swaha, swaha, and um, they're offering the ghee, the grains, the fruits. If one is exposed to that fire, his body will also have the color of the smoke, which is black. And their skin becomes black already because of continuously doing the performance of sacrifice, the fire sacrifice. But they're very humble here. You could see they're saying they don't know the certainty of this fire sacrifice, and they're saying that they are not qualified brahmanas. The performance of fire sacrifice is advised for self-realization in the previous yugas. One should be perfectly reciting all the mantras, perfect intonation. One should be pure. One should have the most opulent offerings, much even to the level of preparing gold panapernalias, disposable gold. That's how they use it. They don't reuse. It's like when people are saying and very proud that we are advancing this technology, this industry, our life is advancing to the fullest and is the most advanced amongst in comparison to the previous life. It is not actually true. We are not actually advancing. It might seem because are having this technology, but this is very just artificial. Before they could speak in this gathering of sages in Naimisaranya, by thousands, they're present there. But they don't use microphone, they don't use speakers, but everyone could hear. Their senses are much more in function. They don't need cell phone. They could read by mind. And they're much more advanced. They're much more advanced. Everything. Their airplane doesn't need any gasoline, petrol. So they have different technology. They don't need to. They could actually ignite fire by mantras. They could talk to the demigods. They could, know, a lot of things. You know, if you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, you will learn. You will learn. And the people from the modern age now is saying that we are advancing, but for what? Previously, they're eating using gold and silver spoon and fork. Now we are eating from plastic cups, plastic spoon and fork, styrofoam. It's not opulent actually, so it's not advancement. And we're destroying the earth. You know, the food, the most expensive food are the organic foods, and you could just buy all the artificial food everywhere, the junk food. It's not advancement. It might look it might seems that we are advancing because they're saying, but actually it's our life is being degraded. The quality of content you will consume in the media, the quality of content you will consume in music, the lyrics, whatsoever. Like, Kali Yuga, Phantasmagoria. That is the title for our how to call this topic for today. Later we'll discuss about this Phantasmagoria. So yes, they are saying that The brahmanas, them, is not qualified, and they have a lot of imperfections. One of it is because of humility, but also they accept that this Kali Yuga, a lot of people are just pretentious. Just like Kali, he pretended to be a king, the personification of Kali. Like leaders could pretend to be leaders because of their fame, because they could just be charismatic, but the qualities of a leader is not there. Not what to speak of qualities of a saintly leader, a saintly king, Raja Rishi. So putting the wrong person in the wrong position is very degradable. It's very a process of downfall to the society. You cannot just vote someone and put in the position because they're famous. If they don't have the quality, it will create havoc. That is just what's happening around the world. The sages of Naimisaranya, I'm just continuing in the purport, were practically sufferers from the smoke of the sacrificial fire and were doubtful about the result. But by hearing from a realized person like Sutta Goswami, they were fully satisfied. Actually, in the Brahma by Varta Purana, Vishnu tells Shiva that in this age of Kali, men of full men full of anxieties of various kinds can vainly labor in fruitive activity and philosophical speculation. But there will always be anxiety for people. You will always hear this. People will endeavor in different kinds in their career, industry, um, whatever things that they're doing, they will feel anxiety. They will feel it's not enough. There's no satisfaction. Even they're in the path of perfection in their fields of work or career, there will be always anxiety. You can see that even the rich people, even the successful people commit suicides. They're not satisfied. Only by practicing devotional service, only by engaging in devotional service, one will feel satisfaction. That is the key. Because one is actually looking for happiness. People in this world is looking for happiness in the wrong place. One could not be really satisfied. It is just like an analogy of a fish outside water. Put the fish in the land. Give him the perfect life here in land. Give him the most high-tech technology, the most branded things. He will not be satisfied because he is really a species, an entity of water. Because we are not really from here. Our real home is in the spiritual world. So what we will experience here is just temporary happiness, temporary things. One will be satisfied even he doesn't own anything, even he is living simply. One will feel satisfied if he is engaged in devotional service because that's the eternal position. Serving, and not just serving anyone, serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if one is doing that, one feels satisfaction. Even he lives the most simplest lifestyle. Just like the practice of Krishna consciousness, our motto is simple living, higher thinking. Live simple, put your energy and resources much more on the higher thinking, much more on the devotional service. Maintain yourself, but you don't have to endeavor that much that will cause you anxiety and depression and will not give you time for spiritual activities. It should be balanced. And if you live simple, you will easily be pleased with simple things. You know, you don't have to work hard for all the most um, advanced gadget, the new trends. You're just chasing. It's like a rat race. It will not be finished. The rat race of these trends and all. text number 13. The value of a moment's association with a devotee of the Lord cannot even be compared to the attainment of heavenly planets or liberation from matter. And what to speak of worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity, which are for those who are meant for death. So this is they are emphasizing the sages in Misrania, the value of the association of pure devotee. Even a moment, what is that moment? A blink of an eye, 1/7 of a second. That is why it is very important to be exposed outside. Everyone. One way question. I'm not a pure devotee, Radhacharan. But if you're in the path, if you're following teachers who are pure devotee, you're also considered pure devotee. But don't get it into your head. Don't be proud of it. We are just following the footsteps. We're representing them. Just like we're representing Srila Prabhupada as we speak, because Srila Prabhupada wrote this in his commentary. But that moment of association, if people sees the book, even just seeing the book, is already an association for the people. If people sees the devotee, people wearing saris or the tilak, the dhoti, people see the even in the internet pictures of Krishna. That's moments of association. Pictures of pure devotee. What more speaking or hearing from them? It is not actually comparable even to the attainment of heavenly planets. A life of a demigod. No, it's very different. And even the demigods are actually bowing down to the lotus feet of devotees. That's the high position of devotees. Not for the devotees to become proud, because they're actually servants of the servants of the servant of Krishna. But Krishna is always pleased and favorable to his servant of the servant of the servant. Not just directly his servant, but those who are taking the menial service in the most humble mood, in the most humble position, Krishna is much pleased. And the demigods is actually trying to please Krishna in different ways. But Krishna is always pleased with his devotees. And the devotees' duty is to wake up other sleeping souls. Spread Krishna consciousness everywhere. It is the most magical thing that you could do. You could perform a lot of yogic powers. You could showcase a lot of yoga position. But this is all material. Levitating or mind reading or seeing the future or whatsoever is still material mystic power. It will not help one to become spiritual being. It is just like learning how to play a drum, learning how to play guitar. It's like a skill set. even you twist and turn your body doing yoga like a pretzel. Still, you cannot consider that spiritual if you don't connect that to Krishna. You can use it to control the senses and the mind in preparation for the meditation for Krishna consciousness. That is the purpose of yoga. So they're saying, even the liberation part, even those who practice moksha or liberation, they want to meditate for them to be able to transcend this material world. Be muktis. But they are actually incomparable still to those who have the association of devotees. Because even in the scriptures, those who practice yoga, sanas, those who perfected them, they're praying. Even they saw Lord Vishnu from within already. They're praying, I want to have the association of devotees. I want to remember you always. They already saw Krishna as Lord Vishnu, but they're still praying for that. Because the highest form, the perfection of yoga is the Bhakti Yoga. Like Dhruva Maharaj already saw Krishna. Even Lord Shiva already saw Krishna But he prayed that he could always remember Krishna by having the association of devotees, because that is much more higher, the remembrance of Krishna in association of devotees, because he will perform devotional service. It is just in comparison to in comparison to having the service, or let's say a loved one, having the actions of loving a person even from a distance is much more important than just seeing that person and you're doing nothing. Sometimes you will have a relationship with your friends, with your family, your loved one, with the distance, but it's much more meaningful than those people around you. So it's not that you see a person physically, the relationship would be that deep already. It's different. And Krishna consciousness, it's there also. You could also see Krishna, like in the temple. You could live in the temple, but if you don't serve, if you don't do devotional service, it's different. There are people who don't live in the temple. They have normal work, they have family, they have job, they have different activity, but they love Krishna the most. They're much more advanced spiritually. So like what the sages in Naimisaranya said here, because in this age of Kali, people could just dress like saffron, saintly person, but you will know their life, you will know when they speak and when you see their lifestyle, if they're really practicing Krishna consciousness that deep. Nori said this, relax lang, sarap ng buhay. Um, Even if you're living outside the temple, if you're Krishna conscious, you are also living like um, people in the temple here. In your own home, you can turn it into your own small little temple. That's why Sri Prabhupada's books are there, the Srimad Bhagavatam. If you have the Srimad Bhagavatam in your house, it's non-different to the temple. Of course, you must do your sadhana every day, the chanting, the reading, and whatever you do is the same. And some people who are here in the temple, they're doing also almost the same as everyone. There are those who are engaged in the farm, those who are engaged in the office, those engaged in the kitchen. Actually, most of the people in the temple work more than the hours that people work outside. Some of people outside works 8 to 5 and all. Some of the people here in the temple works 24 hours almost. Like you could see other like Mother Lita or this Kamala Radhika and Ananda Radhamat, Janali Bas Prabhu. They're in the kitchen almost every day, all day, serving, and they do puja, they give class. You know. They're great devotees. And of course, you wouldn't see that if you're Krishna conscious, even if you're working like a normal work, but you know the purpose of what you're doing, you will not see it as work. You will see it already, and it's also considered as Krishna conscious activity. It is already devotional service. Don't think that is this is indirectly. No, if you're Krishna conscious, you're using the fruit of your activities, the money you are getting, a salary or in business, the profit, and you have you're using it ideally Krishna consciously. Whatever you're doing, if you have like water business or like an art business, it is already devotional service. Just like George Harrison, he makes music for spreading Krishna consciousness. The fruit of the labor that he's doing is also distributing to the activities of Krishna consciousness. He even donated the big palace to be turned into a big temple. So his music writing is same as what we are doing inside the temple, much more, much more in the largest scale, to be practical, because he's spreading Krishna even up to this generation. So yes, it will be in different ashram, but the activities should be the same. Krishna consciousness. That is actually the purpose of Krishna consciousness, the ISKCON, for everyone to be living in the temple, not you living here inside the temple, but you turning your house, your homes into small temples. By what? We have the five angas of bhakti, chanting of Hare Krishna, reading of and hearing of the Srimad Bhagavatam, honoring prasadam, association of devotees, and if you're doing that, you're already living in a holy dham or a holy place of pilgrimage. We could call that also a temple. So that's why it's important to do our basic sadhana. That's the goal of Krishna consciousness, of ISKCON. So if you don't have your Srimad Bhagavatam, let me know. Text number one. Oh yeah, it was mentioned here in text 13. Yes, let's read some. But the pure devotees of the Lord do not aspire after the happiness obtained in the heavenly kingdom, nor they do aspire after liberation from material bondage. So even the devotees are not attracted to the offerings of the heavenly planets. What do you have there? It is full of sense gratification to the fullest. You have servants. You don't feel any how do you call this? What's the opposite of abundance? Anyway, you don't feel any um, scarcity. Yeah, scarcity of resources. You don't feel anything of any of that there. Everyone is beautiful. It was mentioned and described in the scriptures that the most beautiful person in this world, is just like a frog when you compare to the beauty of those living in the heavenly planets. So don't be proud. Their skin are perfect. The ratio of their face, their body. We're just like, you know what? So they have the Gandharvas, Apsaras dancing, and the Gandharvas singing beautiful songs. You have always live concert, someone always dancing, So the life in the heavenly planets is so gorgeous, materially attractive. They enjoy their sense of gratification to the fullest. The intoxication you have here, you cannot compare that to the intoxication they have there. They have the somaras. That's the intoxicant um, of the demigods. But the devotees are not attracted to those offerings of the demigods. It is still material. So you could see the satisfaction of devotees in serving Krishna. This is the highest form. This is the highest form of happiness, the real and eternal happiness, because they know even what you have in the heavenly planets are temporary. After that, they will have to go back to the material world in this earth. I mean, that's still material world. They have to go back in this material earth to perform earthly activities and have a chance again to perform devotional service. So the devotees are not attracted to that offering. He is saying, you can put me everywhere. A devotee is satisfied if you put him in heaven, hell, in this earthly planet. But he is just praying to Krishna. But please, Krishna, give me always a chance to serve and chant your holy name wherever you are. So even if you're living, you're working in the city. If you could remember our class, one should be just like a lotus. Lotus is growing in a muddy reservoir of water, muddy pond. But he is remaining pure. So if one is being Krishna conscious, even if you're here having this material body, your consciousness is already in the spiritual world. You're connected. And Krishna is always really connected to that pure devotee. In other words, for the pure devotees of the Lord, the material pleasures obtainable in the heavenly planets are like Phantasmagoria. So that's the title for today. Phantasmagoria is like um, if you have a child in your house and he holds the remote control of your TV, then every 5 minutes, every 2 minutes, he's changing the channels. Cartoons, Discovery Channel, entertainment, music, television, news. Our world is like just like that. You could observe those provinces. It will be peaceful and all. After some times, industry will come, people will change. You go to the city, pandemic, corruption, accident, calamity, entertainment. So everything, it's always changing. Non-stop change of this world. Phantasmagoria. Even sometimes it's not related. There will be war. You'll feel so angsty about it. Then you will see people will be abused, animal will be abused. Then you will be entertained with K-pop and K-drama. Then you will have action. Then you will work out. Then you will have, what kind of lifestyle? Now try to observe our life much more in the city. It's completely changing. Phantasmagoria. Even in heavenly planets it's like that. But the Krishna conscious person, he's steady. Everything is happening around him, passing by. But he's sober. He's Krishna conscious. He's deeply rooted. If one is really just like living the life, riding the flow, the roller coaster of emotion is there. He will be depressed in anxiety, ecstatic, happy, then again depressed. Same. If you're riding that flow of phantasmagoric life, even our mind is just like that as well. So if you're riding that flow of thoughts, you'll feel different, of course. But one is deeply rooted if he's Krishna conscious. He has the knowledge. And if one is doing the sadhana every day, the reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, the chanting, the association, if one is doing that, he will be steady. Just like a definition in the Bhagavad Gita that a devotee should be like an ocean. Even tons of water coming from the rivers. A lot of things happening around the sea. The sea will always be calm. It might look that there will be waves, ripples everywhere on the surface. That is just in the surface. But the sea will always remain calm. So the river of thoughts, the river of desires will come to our mind because of the stimulus all around us of what's happening. But if you're steady, just like the ocean, it surpass everything. And the first step to do that is doing the sadhana. That's why it's important. I could not really emphasize the importance of sadhana. You stop doing sadhana, then tell me. And I've heard a lot of stories. Even I experienced that. You stop doing the sadhana, you'll observe yourself that you're riding again to the flow of Maya. Riding the flow again. The emotions, the mind's the anxiety, the mind's depression, the mind's thoughts. But if you're doing the sadhana, very still, very steady, you're like an ocean. Phantasmagoria. This world is like a phantasmagoria. And the devotees of Krishna, a yogi, the perfect yogi, is not interested in that phantasmagoria of life. Text number 14. The personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, Govinda, is the exclusive shelter for all great living beings, and his transcendental attributes cannot even be measured by such masters of mystic powers as Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma. Can anyone who is expert in relishing nectar or rasa ever be fully satisfied by hearing topics about him? So even those who are practicing mysticism, cannot actually be measured or measure Krishna's greatness. It is actually inconceivable. Could not really understand. What we're learning about Krishna consciousness, about Krishna himself, is just like fraction of um, a bigger wool, a fraction of a second, or just like a tiny drop of the ocean. Krishna is unlimited. Our understanding is just only by the mercy of our teachers. Without that, if you could imagine, if Srila Prabhupada didn't went to the West to spread Krishna consciousness, we were just busy for a lot of material things. We were just watching the life of the celebrities, the life of the politician, the life of the sports person. Like wasting our time. But now, because of their mercy, we are hearing transcendental glories of Krishna. The pastimes, his activities, his names. This is eternal. And even those who practice mysticism could not actually fathom the greatest of Krishna. Because Krishna is the original and the master of the yogis. He is called Yogeshvara, the master of the mystics. In the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it was described there the perfections of the siddhis, the mystic powers. There are siddhis that you could clone yourself, maximum into 9. Just like Kardama Muni. He have to clone himself to satisfy his wife. But that is the maximum for mystic yogi. But Krishna could easily expand himself into thousands and millions. He expanded himself 16,108 times, having performing each activity differently. He could also expand unlimitedly, just like him expanding himself as a super soul, the super soul, Chirodakashay Vishnu, in everyone's heart, all the living entities, human beings, animal kingdom, insects, plants, non-moving and moving living entity. So Krishna could do that. He's Yogeshvara. And if you know the pastime in the Battle of Kurukshetra, he performed a lot of tricks. He made the sun goes down, then brings up the sun again, just to trick the Kauravas. A lot of things. He's the master of the senses as well. He can control the senses of everyone. So Krishna is the Yogeshvara. And even Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, these demigods, could not understand fully Krishna. What more to compare? And one is actually just like the comparison of fire and the firewood. You cannot make the fire satisfied by putting by putting firewood. You put firewood on the fire will consume it. It will not be satisfied. He will not say, stop, I'm already full. I have taken so much. That's my quota. No. He will just consume and consume. And that's like, we are already in the 93rd episode of our Monk in the Middle podcast. It's always new. We're just in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we will not be satisfied in hearing the glories of Krishna because it is unlimited. It's just like feeding the firewood to the fire. You cannot say, it's enough. In the sages in time in Saranya, they did listen to Sutta Goswami. In the conversation between Pariksit Maharaj and Sukadev Goswami, the guru of Sutta Goswami, they spoke about the Srimad Bhagavatam continuously for 7 days. Without even standing, without even eating, having a break, toilet break, no. They continuously did that because it is like Nigamakalpataro Galitam Palam, the verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, drinking the nectar through the ears, same as hearing Krishna consciousness. So, Sri Prabhupada mentioned here, Lord Brahma, who created the demigods, is also created by Krishna. and still not comparable to Krishna. There's a verse mentioned here. The mystics derive unlimited transcendental pleasures from the absolute truth, and therefore the Supreme Person, absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, is also known as Rama. So as we chant Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, we're chanting to the reservoir pleasure of Krishna. It is where all the pleasures in this life coming from. That's why when we chant, we're experiencing that kind of bliss, because you're chanting, you're associating with Krishna, the source of all pleasure, Rama. And if you have unlikable emotions, it is coming from Rama also. You could just remove and replace it with bliss. So we should chant really from the heart. Let's read text number 15. O Sutta Goswami, you are a learned and pure devotee of the Lord, because the personality of Godhead is your chief object of service. Therefore, please describe to us the pastimes of the Lord, which are above all material conception. For we are anxious to receive such message. So it was mentioned here in the verse, the Sanskrit Bhagavad Pradhan and Susrushatam. Bhagavad Pradhan is the qualities of those who recite the Bhagavad Purana or the Srimad Bhagavatam. In other places, just like there are different versions of Bhagavad Gita, a few versions of Srimad Bhagavatam, but if one is not Bhagavad Pradhan, a devotee of the Srimad Bhagavatam, they're just like authors. They're doing it just for money to sell book, because it is easy to translate. You don't have to compose, and you could sell it, and they will earn. But they will not like have the royalty. Okay, I'll give this to Krishna because he's the original author. No, they're doing it because they will learn, they'll have profit. But they don't have that purity. That also Bhagavad Pradhan, they're not devotees of that. So after they write it, they're not living that kind of life. They'll go back to their old materialistic life. Even those who read it, those who wrote and are reading this kind of scriptures that has been translated, touched by these materialistic authors, they will not get any benefit. They're also doing what do you call this? Bhagavat Saptas. Sapta 7. They're trying to copy what happened in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Pariksit Maharaj and Sukha Goswami. In India, they're doing this by the thousands. They call it Pandal program. They'll have a big space, big tents. They're reciting for 7 days Srimad Bhagavatam. But if the speaker of the Srimad Bhagavatam is not Bhagavat Pradhan, just like a professional speaker, just their profession, but not they're living it, they don't have a guru, they're not practicing Krishna consciousness. After what they did, they're just doing it for fruitive activities. They just do it because they're expecting something will change in their material life. And after the session, 7 days, they will go back to their old life, irreligious, adharmic life. So it is not advised for us to do that and be engaged in that kind of study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because the students, the hearer should be susrushatam. The hearer should be receptive. That's why in the beginning of every session, we should be always in the right mood. We recite the invocation mantras. We should be in the right mood of request and humility. So we could receive, we could be the receptive, a proper student of the Srimad Bhagavatam. If you also read, you could see and observe every time a conversation in the personality in the Srimad Bhagavatam, they always pay obeisances. They bow down, invocation mantras, they glorify. So that's the characteristic of the listener and the speaker of the Bhagavatam. Bhagavat Pradhan and Susrusatam, receptive. And the teacher should be practicing it, not just profession by profession. They could be just They could really speak well, like professional TED Talk speaker. But if their lifestyle is different, very um, nil to none benefits will be there. Text number 16. O Sutta Goswami, please describe those topics of the Lord by which Maharaj Pariksit, whose intelligence was fixed on liberation, attained the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of Garuda, the king of birds. Those topics were vibrated by the son of Vyas, Srila Goswami, Sukadev Goswami. So yes, it was mentioned here that Sukadev Goswami was previously impersonalist. But by the association of devotees hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, he became personalist. And that is our status here in the material world. We are actually impersonalists. From the background of our previous religious practice, they don't describe heaven, they don't describe God. They will say it is a state of mind, just speculation. You will hear the same person, different people from the same group will explain um, the meaning of heaven and the meaning of God differently because they're using their speculation, which is not advice. This is just whimsically done. We should have um, the author's genuine purpose, just like the scriptures. We want to hear and learn Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam according to what the author's intention, according to Krishna's intention. For the readers who could be Krishna conscious and should have the guru to teach us and the scientific person to guide us. The guru, sadhu, and sastra. In that way, one would be able to understand and grasp, take advantage of the scriptures. So a lot of us, and sometimes people will be exhausted from the previous practice in the mainstream practice of religion, and they will just worship the universe because the word religion was being abused. They were just like, okay, the light, the universe arranged this for me. Let's worship the light. Let's go to the light. They become impersonalist. But of course, after that, one should learn and use the intelligence. And if one satisfies the intelligence, you have questions, and find answers to the Srimad Bhagavatam, what could go to the level of being a personalist? Just like Sukadev Goswami. He was born really in a different pedestal, in a state where he is like really pure. But he was at first impersonalist and become a pure devotee because of association of his teacher. He's actually the son of Vyasadeva, the compiler of the Vedas. Text number 17. Thus, please narrate to us the narrations of the unlimited. Thus, please narrate to us the narrations of the unlimited, for they are purifying and supreme. They were spoken to Maharaj Pariksit, and they are very dear to the pure devotees. Being full of Bhakti Yoga. So they're begging Sutta Goswami to tell them more about the life of Pariksit Maharaj and the topic of what Pariksit Maharaj heard from Sutta Goswami. This is the mood of a student. They are very receptive and in a humble mood. They're not demanding. The relationship a student and a teacher should be in this mood, in the mood of humility. And in that way, the flow of spiritual knowledge will be there. If the student feels that he's greater than the teacher, the mercy, the knowledge could not flow directly. Just like in gravity, the flow of water will be going down like the falls. So the student should be in the right mood. Just like in the picture in the Bhagavad Gita, you could see. At first, they were friends, but after Arjuna surrendered, I must also render unto you. I am your disciple. Please instruct me. He put himself in the lower position. If you could observe also, the disciples always talk to the gurus in a lower position. They sit on the ground. The guru sit, of course, in different situations, in whatever applicable scenario. That's why we also bow down. And that is the right mood, how to be a student, how to become a disciple, how to become a disciple of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So if you have the book of Srimad Bhagavatam, that's why we put them in a elevated position. We don't touch them in the floor. If that happened, we touch it in our heads. We don't touch them also in our feet. Basically, this is Krishna, incarnation of Krishna. And having Srimad Bhagavatam in our house, sometimes the parents doesn't read the Srimad Bhagavatam, but even just having it there, it will have a big effect to the people living in our house. Much more the kids. I could remember reading the encyclopedia in our house. Not actually reading. I didn't know how to read back then. I was just looking at the illustration. It gave a big impact on me. I'm not actually a fan of television because I have books. My parents have created a library for us, so I was just like opening it up. So you cannot just blame the kids to at least have a break watching television, have a break using cell phone, if you're not giving them other things to direct their energy. And you cannot blame them for not reading the books in the school if they're not seeing the parents reading, if they're not the kids are not seeing the center of the house is the books, because mostly the center of the house is television. This the media manipulating medium giving us a lot of expectation, watching the Phantasmagoria life. So we should create a place, a sacred space where we could chant nicely, and when we could worship the books, the book Bhagavatam. We worship the book Bhagavatam by studying it. You can even offer incense, offer flowers, but the best worship to the books is studying, reading it. And we should make the Srimad Bhagavatam the center of our home, because this is Krishna and his incarnation in this Kali Yuga. Thank you very much, my dear ones, for being with us. And also those who are actually, I just found out there are a lot who are listening to our recorded sessions in YouTube. We will reach 100 episode. Soon we will transfer all the audios also to. We'll have a copy also into our Spotify. Of course, internet problems, but we will do that. No worry. But we have videos in YouTube, Monk in the Middle. And thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Maharaj Pariksit Ki Jai. All glories to you, the assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna, Norian, Chandrika, Levi, Nikita, Sanjay, Hare Krishna, Rolly Prabhu, Makoy Prabhu, Oliver, Paolo, RJ, Riza, Wei Wei, Jiang. Other Chinese character I could not read. Hare Krishna. Naimi, I think Naimi is using the phone and all. If you want to join also, you could use, if you have English name, you can type. So I could personally know you also. And those who are watching in our Facebook Live, Hare Krishna, thank you very much. See you again. What is day today? Monday, tomorrow. And if you wish to attend Guru Maharaj Bhagavad Gita reading in the evening, that will be weekly and it will be exclusive, not open for everyone if you don't register. So let me know.